Well, good evening, everyone. I am the Reverend Dr. Andre Johnson. I am the distinguished professor of religion and public theology at Memphis Theological Seminary for at least the next couple of weeks. And I am so honored to be a part of this forum. This forum is a special one to me because of its nature. And it is one of the last two events that will be carried out by Memphis Theological Seminary. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And I'm sure everybody has heard of the closing of Memphis Theological Seminary. So we really wanted to go out strong, and this is the first or prelude, if you will, of the last event. You know what? This is the that's what we're gonna call it. This is the penultimate event before the Saturday event, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Um, we are here because we have the inaugural cohort of the Social Justice and Public Witnessing D.Min program at Memphis Theological Seminary. Everybody's going to go around and introduce themselves and give a little background of their ministry and what they're doing now. But it has been indeed a pleasure to work with this cohort. I had a pleasure to teach a course in this cohort and to have the Reverend Dr. Earl Fisher here, who will always be the inaugural faculty mentor of this social justice and public witnessing cohort. So we wanted to bring them on in this social justice forum so they can talk about their experiences at MTS, about how they are implementing their D.Min projects into the life of their ministries and the context in which they find themselves in. And really, as we talked before, we let everybody into the Zoom room, we just really want to just have a laid back conversation and with no major agenda at all, other than good conversation. Everybody that's in the Zoom room, you'll get an opportunity either to voice a question or to put it in the chat. I am moderating this event. I'm going to be looking in the chat for questions. And if you want to verbalize your question, you can do that at the time. And this is not being live streamed or anything like this, but it is being recorded so that we can replay it a little bit later on. So without any further ado, Reverend Dr. Earl Fisher, let's start with you as the mentor of this fabulous group, introducing yourself, a little bit about what your ministry is, and we'll just pass it on. After you finish, you call out somebody. That's how we're going to pass it on.
Well, all right. Well, good evening, everybody. It's an honor and a joy and a privilege to be with all of you. Many of you I know personally. Some of you I look forward to learning more about, but definitely sharing this space on this day. Thank you, Dr. Johnson, for moderating this and helping to structure and organize it. I know it's a byproduct of some conversation with some of the recent graduates out of the program, but I just want to say, as the inaugural uh, cohort mentor, faculty mentor, it's been a pleasure to watch this group, some of whom are on and then some of whom are not on, but just watching the entirety of the cohort evolve and develop over the last several years. When we first kicked this off in 2022, I was not when it started, but I am currently the Associate Professor of Religious Communication and Africana Studies at D.Min College, and I am the Dean of Chapel there. I am the Senior Pastor of the Abyssinian Baptist Church in Memphis, Tennessee, the Blackest church in Memphis and Shelby County, and we want all the smoke for all of y'all who be looking funny, looking sideways like you want some of that. Okay, all right, we can compete for the title, but yeah, I was honored to be on the ground floor with Dr. Christopher B. Davis, who was the director of the D.Min program at the time, Dr. Pete Gecky, who was the vice president of academic affairs or the dean of faculty at the time. And for us to be able to put that together and see it develop the way it did is always going to be something meaningful to me. And it's, of course, bittersweet knowing that these things won't continue, at least in the same capacity that we were able to put them together several years ago. But so proud of all of the students who ended up matriculating through that program. Thankful to you, Dr. Johnson, for your support, your mentorship, your collegiality, and all of that. I'm just glad to be here this evening. I am going to pass it to because I don't want none of the cohort members to think I got favorites. Even if I do have favorites, I don't want them to think I have favorites. So I'm going with somebody connected to, the way that this is on my screen. Okay. And I know what y'all gonna say. Y'all gonna say I'm doing this because he's an alpha, and maybe I am. But I want the Reverend Dr. Daryl Harrington to go next. Thanks, Dr.
Let me say thank you to my dear brother. And y'all know I did preach at his church a few weeks ago. I think I might be one of the favorites. Thank you, Dr. Fisher. And thank you so much, Dr. Andre Johnson. For a time such as this, we had an opportunity to share in matriculating through MTS. I'm Daryl Harrington. Some say now the Reverend Dr. Daryl Harrington, proud pastor of New Sardis Baptist Church, the historic New Sardis Baptist Church, where we believe in servant's proclamation and sacrifice to the glory of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Also the CEO of Neshoba Community Resource Center, our 501c3. And it is just simply a joy to be here this evening. I see some familiar faces in the Zoom room. Thank y'all so much for coming on this evening, and we are looking forward to moving onward and upward in this conversation on this evening. Next, batter up, my dear sister, the one and only Judge, Dr. Carolyn Blackett.
Good evening, everyone. It's so good to be here, and it's also great to see so many people that I do know in the room, as well as to be able to publicly thank Dr. Earl Fisher and Dr. Andre Johnson for everything that they've done to make it possible for us to even be here this afternoon. This program was a great program, and you're probably wondering, why am I, as a judge, sitting here? But as the first female, African-American female judge in the state of Tennessee, state court judge in the criminal justice system, this cohort meant everything to me, because all of the people practically that I deal with every day are 90% looking a lot just like me. And I found a lot of hope. I found my voice, and I also found the voice of others that I could relate and begin to understand why our justice system is not broken, because right now it's working exactly the way they want it to work. So this is 32 years of me being on the bench, and this cohort and this social justice degree that I have is going to be the next chapter for me. So I'd like to turn it over to my sister, Miss and Dr. Eleanor Fondren, at this time.
Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here this afternoon. I am Dr. Eleanor Fondren. My ministry is Beyond Temptation LLC and Beyond Temptation Empowerment, which is a 501(c)(3). My research that brought me to Memphis Theological was social justice. I am a licensed master social work, and we have 5 pillars in social work. One of them is social justice. And when I conducted research in that area, the pillar was Jane Addams, who basically had the same views as eugenicists. And I felt that it had no place in the African American community, all the healing modalities that I was learning in social work. So I wanted to do more and learn more of our context as African Americans in social justice. So that's what brought me to Memphis Theological Seminary. And my project that I'm working on currently is the Benjamin House, which is a recovery house for women in Forest City, Arkansas. So I'm doing pretty good with that, and everything just came together so beautifully. I I learned a lot when it came to the cultural context of African American community when we're working with marginalized and impoverished communities. I learned a lot about myself in this cohort, my theological perspective, and so it was an amazing experience for me. I would like to pass it to Dr. Smith.
Right. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Listen, Dr. J, I'd be remiss if I didn't say how much I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. And anybody knows Dr. Andre Johnson, you know, he's got to be a master in time management because we all know, those that know him know that he has every bit of 1,000 folks pulling at him every day of the week, twice on Sunday. Reverend Dr. Thurston Smith here, it's a great honor for me to be with you all this evening. And of course, being a graduate of and being a part of, if you will, of Memphis Theological Seminary's inaugural D.Min cohort on social justice and public witness. I currently serve as associate minister at one of the greatest churches in Memphis, Tennessee. That's New Salem Missionary Baptist Church. That's the church where the spirit meets the soul under the leadership and tutelage of the Honorable Reverend Dr. Frank E. Ray. Although I am not currently in Memphis, my heart is there, my work is there, my tithes is there, and my service to the community remains there. I am also the chair of the African American Healthcare Access and Recovery Coalition. Just a brief synopsis of that. This organization was established nearly 3 years ago as a social justice arm, if you will, for those of us that practice within the mental health and the counseling and psychology field. And so the work continues to go on. I look forward to this discussion with you all throughout the next hour or so. Thank you.
All right. A couple of things before we move forward. First,
Yeah, Dr. Johnson, I want to invite Dr. Mackey, who is
that's
part
what
of
I was
the
going to
inaugural
say.
court.
I see her in the Zoom room. So let me see that we're going to pin her as well. Hey, Doc.
Greetings.
So
good evening, everyone.
Yeah, go ahead on. I was just getting ready to say that. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
I sure can. Thank you for the invitation this evening. It is definitely my pleasure to be with you all. My name is Dr. Tiffany Linnell Mackey. I am based out of Atlanta, Georgia. I had the pleasure of being in the inaugural Community Witness and Social Justice cohort, where I developed a civic education curriculum teaching the impact of faith and religion on our policies and politics that impact our day-to-day lives. And that's pretty much what I do. I have a nonprofit consulting firm. I work with nonprofits and small businesses, and I break down legislation, Supreme Court decisions, executive orders, all the things, and teach folks, teach community members, teach nonprofit leaders how those policies, those politics are influenced by religion and how they impact our day-to-day lives. So, not a busy season or anything at all. Nothing relevant at all. Nothing relevant. I just don't know where I would come up with such a random thing to do. But it was a continuation of my thesis work, which was paralleling Fannie Lou Hamer's work with Stacey Abrams' work. So that's a little bit about me. I'm happy to be here with y'all.
All right, I like that. That's good. So I think we have everybody. Let me say this before we get to the Q&A part of this. We would be remiss if we did not mention the House of Black Church Studies, which is helping us with this last leg, if you will, of events at Memphis Theological Seminary. The Reverend Dr. Karen Todd is the director, and we want to thank her tremendously for the support and being a part of the House of Black Church Studies. Well, first question, team, and anybody can answer, and we can just, and then you can just kind of flow with it. Being the inaugural anything is exciting and it's fun, it's brand new, and all of that. But talk about, because we have some D.Min students in the Zoom room. Talk about your journey in the program, being the new program, being, community witness, social justice was brand new, inaugural, and you have actually helped birth two, I think maybe even three more cohorts behind. So talk to us a little bit about your journey in the D.Min program. And then Dr. Fisher, you could talk about being the inaugural faculty mentor, and all. So who wants to go first? Not everybody at once.
I'll be happy to jump in there. And so my experience was electrifying. I mean, the body of work, the project deliverables. So let me back up one moment. The title of my dissertation was, or rather is, Establishing a Faith-Oriented, Ministerial-Based Approach to Address Juvenile Crime and Improve Student Academic Retention within Memphis and Shelby County. So the central theme or focus of my dissertation centered predominantly around all of the challenges impacting African-American youth in Memphis, with a special emphasis on those that were either at risk and or those that were interfacing with the Shelby County juvenile justice system. And so, which was an area that I had been involved in for several years prior to. So I actually selected my area of academic focus in an area that I had an existing passion for and some moderate skills navigating within those systems. But there were a couple of opportunities that I had that were pinnacle for my experience. One was I was selected by Memphis Theological Seminary's House of Black Church Study for a academic internship, in which that internship was at the Blackest Church in Memphis. Yeah, do y'all want me to tell you the name of that church? The Blackest Church in Memphis, under the proctorship during that time of the Reverend Dr. Earl Fisher. So that was exciting, and that created, as a result of my work with Dr. Fisher, that created an additional set of insights, if you will, that helped to inform my project and my work going forward. Secondly, and this was my choice, my focus with youth required that I have direct contact with youth, and I did that as a result of a partnership with Alliance Mental Health Center in Memphis. So actually, to that degree, I actually did a academic internship there, which was really theoretically what that was, and worked with those youth directly to help inform the project, inform my research, and that type of thing. So the experience was absolutely magnificent for me. Following 252 pages, some odd pages of my dissertation. Lastly, I am continuing to utilize those skills and that body of work in several other areas. One of those areas is within the counseling field. with the work that I currently do with youth. The second area that I hone in on is the areas relating to public policy and my interface with both the juvenile justice system, not just in the state of Tennessee, but throughout the country, as well as the criminal justice system. So I'll stop there and pass the baton to somebody else.
Right. Who wants to go next?
Well, I'll say that the journey continues. It was one that was full of excitement, full of wonder at times. At times, it was a little tense and intense, but thanks be to God, we made it. We pulled together, and in real time, over those 3.5 or so years, we had an opportunity to really show and to shine and to share with one another what social justice and community witness was about, because we had to stand up for justice and for truth for ourselves throughout the matriculation. Part of this journey, it took me back to my dad's teachings. My dad was born in 1932 in Bentonia, Mississippi. He was born during the decade of the Great Depression. And I grew up rather, thinking that he was my hero, knowing that he was my hero. Good friends with Medgar Evers. He was involved in the civil rights era, and a lot that he did and they did back during that time, brothers and sisters, I thought would be something of the past, that was work that they had put in. They toed the line, and they made sure that we had what was necessary in order to move forward when it came to matters of diplomacy, justice, and equality. Oh, were we surprised, or are we surprised over these last several years to understand that democracy is something that we can lose if we don't work on it? And so throughout this particular cohort, we had an opportunity to see in real time episodes and issues that took place historically, and to actually match them and to juxtapose them to what we are seeing and experiencing right now. How many of us pass by the Wolf River watershed, and we never know what took place there? Wolf River watershed, understand the Trail of Tears that actually went through Memphis, Tennessee. How many of us think about Chucalissa that's over in, and I'd never gone to these places, been here now in Memphis for over 20 years. And this was a program that allowed us to touch in real time history and then pull that history to the present and understand what justice, equity, and equality needs to be about in this present age. And then we had an opportunity to really rub shoulders with some of the greatest civil rights activists of our time, two of which are on this particular screen tonight, and Dr. Andre Johnson and Dr. Earl Fisher, but also individuals like Dr. Gould. We had Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes to show up on the scenes. We had Judge out of Arkansas. We had, when I tell you, we had some of the best and the brightest that we could actually plug into in creating these relationships. We still have the chance and the opportunity to really grab hold and utilize them, and they utilize us to move agendas forward. Maximizing effort in recovery and cultivation of our youth, the Mercy Project, maximizing effort in recovery and cultivation of our youth was my project. And it's utilized on a weekly basis at New Sardis Baptist Church, because we have about 30 or 40 men that go out and mentor young boys. The crux of my project was making sure that we push forward efforts to combine the strength of youth and the wisdom of elders. All too often, when senior saints get to that point where they're 55, 60 years old and they don't want to listen to rap music, they put themselves in a position where there's a gulf, there's a chasm, there's a divide between young folk and those who are not so young. And so my project, the Mercy Project, allows us an opportunity to build capacity with one another through the 4L system of listening, creating opportunities for young folk to listen. While we're listening, we're learning from our young folks. While we're learning from them, we love them. Once we realize that we love them, then we can lead them. And then after the leadership is implemented, we then have an opportunity to see all ships lift into the glory of God. And so I'll pause there, but the journey continued, and oh, what a journey it was to be a part of the social justice community with this cohort.
I'll pick it up from there. Go ahead. I'll pick it up from there. For me, it was a very unique challenge because no one understood why I would go to seminary while I was on the bench. And also, people did not understand why I was interested in social justice. But I view my position as well as what I do every day as a ministry. And I was concerned as to why we were all there together. Everybody who works within the criminal justice system, I wanted to know why this system was not working. Why were we turning out more criminals, better criminals, and we had no respect for the authorities, especially policemen, why crime was going up. And it seemed like there was something missing. Seemed like that there was something missing that I usually call myself a civil rights baby because when I was born, everything was going on. All the leaders were out there, especially in Memphis, Dr. Hooks, A.W. Willis, and all those people. But I was too young to march. I was too young to do anything. Even when Dr. King was killed in Memphis, I was too young to even be at the church, even though my parents were there. So I started looking around and I realized with the number of people who were experiencing the criminal justice system and also the people that were put in charge of the criminal justice system, especially for us, there was a lot of post-traumatic stress syndrome where people were not only carrying what they live with every day, but they were carrying generations of stress, generations of trauma. And so it was repeating itself. I started asking myself, why am I getting the grandfathers, the fathers, the sons, and now the grandsons in the same court system? And they are more proud to tell me that I remember them because they were there when I put them in jail for 5 or 6 years, 20 or 30 years ago. And then I'm wondering where did things go wrong because now they're asking me for probation for their grandsons or great grandsons. So my project focused on not only the criminal justice system, but also the trauma that we all as a people go through, particularly in terms of our respect for the policemen. And one of the examples that really triggered me was the Tyree Nichols case. I did not talk about it a lot, but I did mention it because I wanted to know if we were all in this together, where is God when we try to fix the system and help each other as a race to be better people, the role models for the young Black children, the role models for the young adults. And we had a hate in a lot of ways, not only from people to authority, but also authority to people. Mm-hmm. Why would policemen who were respected historically in the beginning all of a sudden get to a point that they seem to be acting differently? Why would people not respect authority? So as far as the cohort was concerned, I was exposed to a wealth of reading, lectures, opinions, being able to talk about it. And I considered it a safe space because I felt like I could share with my colleagues what I was thinking, what I was going through, and through all the reading, even though we complained about having 20 and 30 books to read, I read most of those books, and those books would not have been read if they had not been assigned. And so it was a wonderful experience for me because it showed me why the system is different. I look at the whole system now completely different, and that's what I intend to do with the rest of my chapter in this new phase. we have a lot of resources that we allow people to just take away from us. And there's a lot of hope within our justice system, but somebody has to stand up and begin to advocate that everybody doesn't need to be executed. Everybody doesn't need to stay in jail. This whole restoration of justice, this whole rehabilitation in a lot of the major cities, we have just completely forgotten about it. We feel like if we can put them away, then we'll all live a better life. But we're talking about our people, our families, and our members. So that was why I got into the program. And I can tell you that based upon the professors that we had, the experiences that we had, I took away a lot more than I ever could have thought I would take away from a program like that. So ongoing, I plan to try to be a lot more active in terms of the situations with the safety task force, with the policemen here, with the neighborhood programs, and getting other churches involved with pulling together a community like we had during the civil rights area, where people looked up to our leaders and they did not disrespect them. And a lot of the incidents that we're seeing today, we are not going to stand for them.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome.
Fondren?
For me, it was growth. That's what I took from the program. And I found that my project, Healing Through Faith, Black Theology and Substance Use Disorder, it took a while for me to come up with my project, but it was in me all the time. I had established Beyond Temptation, LLC, maybe about 5 years prior, and was going through Forest City, Arkansas, setting up tables, telling my story concerning my own recovery. Being from the South Side of Chicago, I watched the middle class community disintegrate. I saw the police system just being corrupt. I saw a lot of that. My project is continuing on. I actually just did a personal social experiment and went into the prison to see what kind of programs that they had in place for recovery. And it was, in 1 week, I saw maybe 11 people overdose. So that was that thing I know I needed to keep going. And so working over in Forest City, it's been a struggle because it's a rural area and I didn't grow up there. But the need in the area is great. So I learned a lot there. It basically gave me that extra push to keep going because I get so much pushback in the faith community there. When it comes to recovery, a lot of them don't want to touch it, but I'm still fighting. Basically, we're ready to open the doors. Once I get the funding, I'll be able to house 10 women. And so I put my life savings into this. So everything went well. It went right together once I found where I belonged and just didn't give up and kept going. It was a great group of cohorts. Everything just came together perfectly. And I'm still working every day putting this thing together. So
Great. And I believe that's Dr. Mackey.
I will go a little bit personal. Everyone kind of gave their experience, so I'll give more on a personal note. It was rough. I tried to quit a couple of times, if I'm being honest.
Good.
And if it had not been for Dean Woodbury Moore and the pastor of the Blackest Church in Memphis, Dr. Earl Fisher, and Dr. Susan Smith, who was my committee chair, I don't know that I would have completed the program because it's very hard to focus on studies when what you're studying is happening. And so I not only wanted to spend time doing the work, but also I had a lot of personal things going on. My grandmother was sick and then passed away while I was completing the program. And so I was like, you could send me the withdrawal instructions right now. Thank you. But I absolutely needed every moment of the program. And I'm very grateful for the experiences. I'm very grateful for the conversations. And I'm very grateful for the opportunities for growth and networking that the program afforded me, and the ability to go into different spaces and share that lived experience, and to be able to have the lived experience of, despite everything that tried to hit my doorway while going through this program, I made it through on the other side. And that makes it all worthwhile, honestly.
Wonderful. Dr. Fisher.
Yeah, I'm glad Dr. Mackey shared that too. I think it segues into some of what I want to kind of contextualize as it relates to even the birth of the program. So the history of the program is that it really launched during a conversation and a dialogue with Dr. Chris Davis and I. And this would have been on the heels of the George Floyd protest in 2020, and then the things that were happening around Memphis and Shelby County in 21 and 22. And don't forget, this is on the back end of COVID. So even the model of cohort in terms of like the residency and stuff like that was still in a state of flux. For those who don't know, many theological institutions over the last several years, especially really the last few decades, but in the last 5 to 7 years, it really kicked up when they were moving to this D.Min cohort model. So places like Virginia Union, for instance, and the Samuel DeWitt Proctor School of Theology there, Eden Theological Seminary, historically United Theological Seminary, and institutions like that are really like the models for what ended up coming to Memphis Theological Seminary. So you had Dr. Gina Stewart's womanist preaching cohort. It was trailblazing. There was a cohort on preaching and leadership. There was a cohort on faith, food, and farming, I believe it was at the time. And since MTS has billed itself as committed to scholarship, piety, and justice, Dr. Davis wanted to curate and cultivate a cohort that reflected that. And so what ended up happening, which makes this moment of the institution and even where we are right now very unique and fascinating, is that the D.Min program, unlike many of the other seminaries, was actually the economic floor and the pillar of the seminary during that tenure. So it was not as much the master's program as would have been the case when I was a student there or when Dr. Johnson was a student there. By this time, with the shifts in theological education overall, the Doctorate of Ministry program at Memphis Theological Seminary was the centerpiece. And so the D.Min cohort model is intended to try to replicate the type of ministerial or pastoral and academic production of the cohort faculty mentor, actually. And so people were saying that the type of things that Dr. Johnson and I had been doing in the area were things that they wanted more faith leaders, more ministers, more pastors, more practitioners to do. And so Dr. Davis and I were thinking through and talking through the particulars. We developed a framework for a program that sought to balance advocacy and activism along with some academic research. Sorry, Judge Blackett, Dr. Blackett, for the reading list. Sorry, not sorry, as I would say. But also things that I think go underappreciated, which would be ministerial integrity and spiritual strategy. So it was a joy to witness some of the evolution of some of the programs. I mean, some of the projects in particular. I know Dr. Smith kept referring to his as a dissertation. So the projects were wonderful in the way that they evolved, and to the point that Dr. Mackey made and Dr. Harrington made, the social justice and community witness program was able to get some on the job training because there were things happening at the seminary itself where the students had to become their own advocates and they had to model from an institutional standpoint what social justice and community witness was like. So that added more flavor to the journey. But I think that larger kind of context of what was happening in the world at that time, but especially in the world of theological education is important. And, you know, to watch the students matriculate through the program, dealing with their various, and for each one of them, and I think this ought to be the case with any D.Min program and project, that it should be something that is driven by the person's passion. And all of them were in their passion with the project that they selected. And I think that's why they ultimately seen it through.
That's wonderful, man. Thank you for that background and that history. And it just goes to show you again that Memphis Theological Seminary in these last 4 years have really been on the cutting edge of doing wonderful things as it related to the theological education. The last cohort that we created, the religious communication and public theology, the one that I put together, was a program that I thought at the time, or still think, that could have been just really, what's the word I want to use? Could just be really great for folk, because, and as Dr. Fisher knows, we both being communication studies folk, that how we communicate, how we articulate what it is that we know and learn, and how we message that is so important. So, and that's one of the things that I did like about the Community Witness Social Justice program, is that yes, you get the theological ground, and yes, you get you learn about all of the issues that you can, stand for and stand with, and the people that you can work with. But you also learn how to navigate it, and as Dr. Fisher said, in real time sometimes. It reminded me that, when Dr. Macker was saying that, Dr. Fisher, it reminded me when she said that, when life was going on, it was getting tough. I thought about you again when you started your PhD program. I mean, it was like back to back. I mean, oh my God, with Mike Brown, and, and we were trying to figure it out as we went along. And so, and the work that you were doing, talk to me and talk to the group, cohort members, about if you had to, and just real short, couple of sentences, if you had to tell somebody about who's on the fence right now about whether I should go and do a D.Min or something, what kind of words of encouragement could you give them based on your own experience and based on your own growth? What can you say to?
I would piggyback off of. I'm sorry.
Hold on just a second, Eleanor. Hold on just a second, because I don't want to move off of something that I think Dr. Johnson skimmed past, but is extremely valuable when you, and I think it'll segue into, so Dr. Fondren, let me pitch this to you this way. Dr. Johnson mentioned what he did for me while I was a PhD student. And what he did for me in that moment was not just be a faculty, if he wasn't my advisor, but he was on my committee, right? He wasn't just a colleague, but he was embodying a kind of pastoral persona, which is something that I think is lost in a lot of institutional programs, even that are D.Min programs. So as Dr. Mackey is talking about what was happening in life, and others can talk about this too, what you end up doing is modeling for them what pastoral leadership looks like at that moment, what ministerial leadership looks like in that moment. And so, Dr. Johnson, you were able to embody that and enact that. And I think that that's something that seminaries and divinity schools moved away from, trying to corporatize these programs and trying to monetize them in ways that lost some of the essence of the theological rigor that is needed, not just academically, but pastorally, ministerially. And so I think it's important to note that. And I think the term you may have been looking for, Dr. Johnson, when you talk about your rhetorical theology,
Religious communication.
Religious
About that,
communication
yeah.
and political theology core is groundbreaking. It was a groundbreaking thing, like because what we tend to have seen. This is why I was mentioning some of the cohorts that were at Memphis Theological Seminary. They were not cohorts that were being done anywhere else. They just weren't, right. And so you've seen similar cohorts since the launch of that. And so what is happening now institutionally with Memphis Theological Seminary is a void is about to exist. And we'll see if there's some ways for some of the other institutions, maybe Lemoyne and some others, to kind of fill that void. But it was groundbreaking. And I think what you were able to embody, what you've carried on, and what I've tried to embody is the need for pastoral and ministerial leadership in real time for the participants in the program. So sorry about that, Dr. Farger, but I wasn't going to let Dr. Johnson in his modesty skim past the groundbreaking work that was happening.
Yeah, I just wanted to input that it is a passion for healing more than the academic part for me. Like I said, it was already in me. During the time at MTS, I lost a sibling from an overdose. So it was just the passion to go back and heal and have that deeper, I guess, systemic impact of addiction. And it's a fight. It's still a struggle every day. And I tell you, just being together with this group just gave me that extra encouragement. Right. Being a first generation graduate with a master's and a doctorate out of 8 children, and watching so many people in my community perish, that's where that passion came from. So it was more than just having a degree. It was a purpose. It was a calling for me.
If I may add,
yes,
and this is in direct response to Dr. J's question. I went to brunch with Pastor Ricky Duggan. I don't know what church he's the pastor of in Memphis, but we went to brunch at Perkins on the corner of Poplar and Highland. And before the day was over, just from me eating with him, I applied for the doctorate, the D.Min program at Memphis Theological Seminary. Now, I want everybody to understand this. During this time, I'm already a college professor. I'm teaching psychology and sociology at another university. My church you can throw a rock from Memphis Theological Seminary to hit New Salem. So it was convenient. I was interested in pursuing a doctorate degree. I like the idea of pursuing a doctorate degree, but here's the thing. I knew going into the school that I had the geographical convenience. I knew the work that I would be involved in was in the community. And I knew that my focus would be in an area that I was interested in. Lastly, because I'm a licensed counselor, I told my academic advisor during that time, who was Dr. Christopher Davis, I'm interested in pursuing the doctoral, the D.Min program in pastoral counseling. And after looking at my resume, and he knew my background, Christopher Davis said, no. You belong. I never forgot. And I'm so glad. And I felt really good about this because I took somebody else's advice and it worked out for me. So if there was some person to ask me, Dr. Johnson, who expressed interest in pursuing an advanced degree in theology and ministry and so on and so forth, and if they were ambivalent about either doing it or were not certain about what area of focus they should center on, I would tell them to find a Dr. Christopher Davis. I would ask them, encourage them to touch base with an advisor or somebody that they trust a trusted servant that's already doing that body of work and solicit their input. I'm glad that I did. It was one of the best decisions that I've made for not just my own ministry, but my own personal and professional edification. The D.Min program has helped me immensely in all of the other work that I'm involved in.
Yes.
Great.
Let me jump in there and echo the sentiments of Dr. Smith. It was also Dr. Christopher Davis, for me, who called me about a month and a half before the cohort began. And he said, man, there's something that's formed and framed specifically for you. I was just leaving just months prior from my master's studies, MTS, and I told him, I said, man, I thought we could take a year off. It was in the rule book that we needed to take a year off before we studied anything. I was trying my best to get out of it, y'all. I really was. But he would not take no for an answer. But and I backtracked to say this. During my master's studies, it was the one and only Dr. Andre Johnson who made religion and spirituality take a different form in our urban theology course when we learned about Dr. James Cone, and we went deep on Black liberation theology. And so I would have to say that if there's a burning desire, if the Holy Spirit just won't let you go about something, there's terminology that comes to mind at this point, prophetic pessimism, righteous rage. If there's something going on internally with you that God says, this is the work that I put you on earth for, then you don't need to let it go until you gain some education and some motivation and some inspiration and dedicate yourself to what God has placed in your soul. And so that's what this particular increase of knowledge and building of community with these brothers and sisters has done for me, making sure that you connect with that which will help you build substance and sustenance around what God has placed in you to move forward in life with. And whatever that may be. Yeah, it was around younger brothers with me because my mom passed when I was 5 years old, but I had a dad that I had a healthy dose of fear for. And I looked around and I said, if some of my other partners had a dad like mine when they were 14, 15, 16 years old, then maybe they would not have gone to see Judge Blackett. Maybe they would not have gone to an early grave because of that. And so it's my life's work to make certain that young boys, ages 8 to 10, 11, and 12 years old, that they have some type of understanding of who and what they can be. And I close when I say this. It was J. Cole who asked the question, what's the price of a black man's life? I checked the toe tag, not 1 0 in sight. I put the TV on, not 1 hero in sight, unless he dribble or he fiddle with mics. I want our young black men to know that they can be more than just basketball players and rap stars. And when you educate yourself and inspire oneself around what God has for you to do, then you'll have a team of people and a great cloud of witnesses like Dr. Earl Fisher and Dr. Andre Johnson and the rest of this social justice league that'll help you get to where God is taking you.
Amen.
Amen.
I'll go very quickly. I'm a womanist, and so my going quote tends to be in honor of what Reverend Dr. Katie Geneva Cannon said, do the work your soul must have. Don't choose a program because you want letters in front of or behind your name. I promise you that will go out the window when you have 3 books to read before 2 days before class and you got to write 50 pages and like those, you will cuss and say, forget them letters. So don't do it for that. Do it because your soul will cry out if you do not continue that work, if you don't have certain discussions and conversations, and if you do not enter certain spaces and start to formulate certain communities and surround yourself with like-minded individuals to continue the work that is burning within your soul and your spirit. If you do not have that, can't find that, and don't think you can seek that in a program, then wait a little longer and keep on living, as my grandmother used to say. It will come, but you need that fire, that show enough shot up in your bones in order to complete a program like this.
Well, personally, I think that the program just added a whole new dimension to my life in terms of being a judge. Um, People kept coming to me from the jail saying they found God in jail. And I always wanted to know, why is it they found God in jail, but once they got out, they left him in jail? I couldn't impart a lot of wisdom to them until I did the work myself. I couldn't tell them where they needed to go until I understood my history myself. And so this program for me opened up a whole nother aspect in terms of what justice was all about. It's not just us, but it's justice. And we're still seeking that justice. And as long as we keep seeking that and realizing that where we are is not, this is not where we're supposed to be. As long as young Black boys are being killed without excuses, without any having to come to justice about anything, people forget about it. And I think one of the things that really bothers me is that, yeah, if it's white and Black, you get a lot of attention on the media. But if it's Black on Black, it's like that's what they do anyway.
My God.
That's where the problem is. And it's just that the sensationalism that we have to have in this world is not going to get us to the next step. It's understanding the problem, the trauma that we've been through, the trauma that we continue to go through. And someone has to be trained as a leader, because all the people that are in the group can't, and the masses can't be leaders. And that's what I was seeking to do. God gave me brains, he gave me all kinds of things, but there was something still missing. And that's what I found in this program. There's no difference, as far as I'm concerned, between criminal justice and social justice. It's the same.
Judge Blackett, you have sparked something in me, and that I need to share this if I don't say anything else. There are three institutions that God ordained. In Genesis 1, verses 27 through 28, God ordained the family. In Deuteronomy 16:18 and Romans 13:1, God ordained government. And in Matthew 16:18, where Jesus tells Peter, upon this rock build my church, God ordained the church. We are now living in a society that has an all-out attack upon the Black family.
Yes.
That's number one. The hypocrisy of that is that attack is being emanated from government. And so, brothers and sisters, the Black church could not have had a more critical role in society today. And you know, I can just feel the passion and the relevance of every time Judge Blackett brings up the plight, and we used to cry together, you know, in the program when she used to talk about these challenges of dealing with our brothers and sisters. But let's be clear that particularly under this administration, these folks hate Black people. And I'm not in denial. I wish my brothers and sisters were, I don't have no desire to acquiesce and accommodate white folks. We're not playing those games no more. Those days are over and done with. But here's the four things. The challenge that we have, the prophetic call that I've gotten. I mean, I'm using Brother Earl Fisher's favorite phrase that he's commonly used, known commonly for saying, our prophetic call in interfacing with the various groups that we deal with is dealing with the uninformed, dealing with the underinformed, dealing with the misinformed, and dealing with the disinformed. And so we have all got our work cut out for us. And sometimes it just feels like in this fight for justice, it feels like it's just us.
That's us.
My. One last question from me, and then we'll turn it over to the folk in the Zoom room. Based on your research, and Dr. Fitch, you can jump in this as well, because I know you're still doing your research and being involved in the community, of course. But what is it that you learned or through your project that you discovered that speaks to what's happening, a particular thing that's happening right now? I know it speaks to the total, but the one that you can just zero in, like, man, I'm glad I did this because of what's going on right now.
I can elaborate on that.
Yeah.
During my research in the area that I'm in, there are several other recovery homes, and in all of the recovery homes, there are no African Americans. And I actually placed a few people in those homes, and it was difficult getting them the assistance that they required. And then I said a little bit about having the pushback from the faith-based community, because a lot of them don't want to touch it. More of our white counterparts, they have recovery meetings, they have a lot of things going on, healing their community. We have to come together because they're putting us in prison. That's just that was my outcome of this. I created a framework to try to incorporate faith-based healing into more churches, which is recovery, restore, revival, and renew. So I'm just going through the community trying to get more support from the African American church. We need their support in this. That's my input on it. That's what I've noticed. They're healing their people. I have never gotten so much pushback, and it's because they don't want to touch it. They don't want to touch recovery. So we need support in that part, healing our community. And I've also came up with a book, curriculum I created, Ubuntu. We heal together. It is a African. It's like an African curriculum to sober living. So
Right.
I'm trying to launch that in the community, but I get a lot of pushback again. But the work it's never ending. That's what I can say.
All right.
You have to have the momentum and support. We have to support one another. And I think that's one of our biggest obstacles in the Black community. It's going to be honest. So,
Thank you. Dr. Harrington, look like you were about to say something.
Well, I was responding to a
question
question in the chat about what is Christ-like capacity. And I'll just touch on that briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us go to church. Well, not any of you, but y'all know some folk who go to church, but they don't let the church go with them. They go to Sunday, go to meeting, and they celebrate, and they have a good time on Sunday. And even the pastor, since there's a few pastors and preachers online, we go and we dump the house, and we, preach our suit out, so we have a cleaner bill that next week. But people come to the church, they leave the church, and they never change. They leave and they come with the same depression. They leave and they come with the same anxiety. Children began to not believe in the same Jesus that we believe in. Mm-hmm. What did Jesus do? What did he really do? He came, he sacrificed, he made certain that the commoners, they embraced him, they received him gladly. Mm-hmm. And so Christ-like capacity, it begins to rear its beautiful and blessed head when we can actually go in, serve, sacrifice for the least of these. That's what Jesus did, and that's what we're all called to do. And when we do that, we can start to see the world from a different lens. We can start to see it from that Christ-like love lens. And so that's what that particular, at least that's what it means to me, and that's what we try to convey in the Mercy Project.
Well, I see it as being the biggest problem that we have as far as the family is concerned, Dr. Smith, is that we don't love ourselves enough so that we can carry out the greatest command, which is to love our neighbors. And if you don't love yourself, how can you love anybody else or care about anybody else? And that's the biggest problem because we don't know how to love ourselves. We have been taught to love everything else but ourselves and who we are.
Indeed. Doc, let me say this quickly, ever so quickly. And Judge Doc is absolutely right. When we live in a space where religion has been weaponized throughout the years, throughout the eons, throughout the annals of history, we see a weaponization of religion. They used Jesus, not the black one. They used the white one, the one who has a pointed nose and straight hair and blue eyes. They used him and they put him on grandmama and great grandmama's wall right beside Dr. King. And many of us became confused. You know, who is this Jesus? And so in as much as we had an opportunity in this particular cohort to really understand and look into the soil of first century Palestine, understanding that Jesus came up in Africa. He had to run to Egypt to actually hide. Yeah, when they were after him. We are unapologetic in this particular cohort about really pursuing what true justice, love, and liberation looks like, because we tried with all that we have, with the help of our professors and our teachers, to pursue the true nature of who and what Jesus Christ is all about.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Right. Dr. Mackey, you want to something to that last question?
Let me
like you said, you know, nothing is really going on right
now. Talk about how what you're doing in the area that you're in right now is related to some of the stuff that you were working on in the program.
Yeah, you know, nothing relevant at all. What I discovered was the power of one's knowledge. You never know what you know and have to offer in a space that you think people know, but they are looking at you like you are just some kind of savant because you're spewing off information. I don't know a whole lot about a whole lot, but I do know how to break down policies and legislation. And what I discovered was there's a lot about our government and the structure of our government and how that works that people just do not know. And so I got an opportunity to teach at a freedom school while I was in the middle of my program. And I went in and I was tasked, this church had gotten a grant to do the freedom school. And I was tasked to be their first instructor for their first 2 sessions. And I got a call 2 weeks before, and the pastor said, I know you read Project 2025. Can you come teach on that? And I was like, sure. I read it, you know, when it got released. And I went in and I, you know, went through all of the changes and things to the Constitution. And about 4 folks came up to me afterwards and said, you went over the Constitution a lot, and I'm realizing I don't think I know as much of what that says. And so can we go over that some more? So never underestimate the power of your own knowledge and what you can offer into a space was one of my biggest lessons. And a lesson that I'm sharing with you all. Don't underestimate your own value in the space that you enter. It definitely has been very impactful to me to see folks' eyes, like that aha moment when I say, oh yeah, you know, religion is weaponized and it's used in these policies and that's how it's impacting your life. And they say, now wait a minute, now hold on, I didn't realize that. I love seeing folks' aha moments when I'm able to share a little bit of information on the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence or bills and things that are being passed through our congressional chambers, or how to follow your state leadership, or that you can go and call your folks to the ropes and have conversations with them, and how to build relationships with your policymakers, and that all politics are local. It starts local first. So those are some of my biggest lessons.
Thank you for that. That's awesome. Dr. Fisher, I know you have to jump off, but I want to just give you a final word before you leave as the inaugural faculty mentor of this wonderful cohort.
I echo some of the sentiments I shared early on, that it's been a gift and a joy, a privilege to journey with these wonderful brothers and sisters as they become doctors of the church and doctors in ministry. And as you can tell, they are all serving in superlative ways in their own respects. And so as we think about, what the next batch of these types of leaders will look like, I trust that they'll pop up in a lot of different spaces. Some will be theological education through other institutions. Some will be in more traditional church spaces. Some will be in academic spaces. Some will be in community spaces. But just it's been an honor. The old preacher would say, it's been a plump, pleasing pleasure and a privilege to journey with them and with you, Dr. J. So, we appreciate it. And yeah, I'll be sliding off. I didn't know. I'm going to try to stick for a few more seconds to see if I can catch a question or two that might come from somebody else, but then I will have to slide off. So that might just very well be my final remark. So thank you.
Well, I do want to open up now for questions from the folk in the Zoom room. Thank you, first of all, for coming and being a part of this. This is wonderful. And I just hope what has been shared has been a blessing to us so far. So questions. First, let me look and see. I think we have answered some of the questions already in the chat. So you can come off. Who is that? Sister Gray. Yeah, hey. You're on mute.
Took the picture off and forgot to take the voice off. So good evening. So appreciate you guys sharing this. I guess the question is, what's next, given where MTS is going? And so Reverend or Dr. Fisher had mentioned maybe Lamont on will pick up something. So what's going to happen? Because I heard a lot, and I'm, comparing to my life, which there's still children involved, and I'm, hearing. I didn't hear any of that somewhat from Dr. Mackey about life is lifing. But I'm trying to figure out how could I do something with the time and constraints that I have, recognizing that there is a desire for a deeper spiritual knowledge that you guys have experienced.
So I think, let me say this about what Lemoyne College is not going to be able to offer anytime soon, and that's probably a doctoral level degree. So I don't see that in the horizon, although there's some conversation, and I don't think I'm premature or out of bounds in saying there's some conversation about developing a master's level degree program in religion at Lemoyne College that we hope will be up and running in short order, which could possibly help fill the void of what's being left in Memphis and Shelby County with the closure of Memphis Theological Seminary. And although there are some specific distinctions when you start talking about programs that are doctorate of ministry programs versus PhD programs, I think anybody interested in teaching long term and anybody interested in the intersections of rhetoric, race, and religion should talk to Dr. Andre Johnson about the PhD program in communication at University. Tell Reverend Jessica Abel to mute herself.
Jessica, I'm trying to find her. Okay. Let's see. Got it. Go ahead.
There she go. All right. So yeah, I just recommend people check out the PhD program at the University of Memphis. I think it's superb, and I don't know if Dr. Johnson wants to toot his own horn, so let me toot it for him and say I think that's great. Beyond that, I think if you are talking about the kind of edification, tutelage, and things of that nature, I think that you can find that in relationship with people who are doing that kind of work. As earlier when I mentioned the D.Min model, the cohort model was intended to try to get people to replicate the kind of ministerial production or the academic production of the faculty mentor. And so I think there are ways to get that in an informal way that will not give you the credentials. So if you are looking for credentials, then I'm saying you have to explore programs. And the one thing I think when the students were when the other panelists, because they're not students anymore. I know y'all all eternal students, okay? But when the panelists were speaking earlier, I think the thing that is not appreciated enough is you want to study with a personality that you could actually glean some stuff from, and that is going to be responsible in how they treat your time and your energy and your effort and your life in that program. So, Sister Gray, I would just say, I think if depending on what avenue you're trying to take, if there's somebody who does not have a master's degree, I'm saying let's look at Lemoyne College, and then I don't mind trying to make some recommendations as well. If you're looking for a PhD program, Andre Johnson is the one to study with and study under. And if you are looking for a D.Min program, I'm sure we can have some conversation about what some good D.Min programs are and who would be some good people to study.
And let me just add, thank you there, Dr. Fisher, for that. I am entering a new role over at the University of Memphis as Director of Graduate Studies. And there is a possibility that we are merging with journalism and strategic media in the fall of 2027, but that Director of Graduate Studies can expand over into the journalism side as well as the strategic media. So now you're opening up to all mass media type of availability. So I'm looking forward to that. But let me just say this, because it was on my list to kind of talk about near the end. Let us not, and I'm so glad you asked that question, Sister Gray. Let us not fool ourselves. What is happening? I posted some weeks ago that Memphis has taken a lot of hits lately. And one of those hits is the closing of MTS.
Right.
I don't think we really, and it may not even show until next year after that or whatever, there will be a void of theological education in this city. Now, I know that other schools are stepping up and trying to, they see the opening, they want to hire these people, they want to do contextualized ministry, they want to do urban ministry, they're creating all these kind of programs specifically geared toward African-American clergy and all of that. But it will not be a Memphis Theological Seminary, a place where you got educated instead of indoctrinated. Part of our frustration when we were going through the program is because we felt ourselves growing. We felt it, and we had to wrestle with that. But MTS embraces that. You should wrestle. You should not go to a place where they're going to tell you everything that you already know and to confirm everything that you think that you know. We are going to miss half the folk on this Zoom call would not be able to go to certain seminaries and get the degrees that you got. That's going to be missed in this city. And that's why I was so vocal about we are really going to miss Memphis Theological Seminary, all the great work, all the stuff that you see around this city, all the good things that keep this city going and this area going. And listen, look, you can just look at the first cohort here. These are not all pastors or people who are preaching every Sunday. We have judges, we have people already in full-time careers doing work, coming back. We got professors who are already teaching, coming back to do the D.Min. Why? They saw value in it. They wanted to expand and to grow, and we're gonna miss that. That's what I'm looking for. That's gonna be the biggest drop, and a whole lot of people are gonna try to get into other programs and stuff, but it's not gonna be the education that you were getting, and you were exposed to all of the sides, and you had to sit and wrestle with that, and you had to decide, okay, here's what I believe, and this is the reason why. And when you did that, then we said, okay, I might not agree with that position, but if you articulated it well, fine, let's go with it. But that's going to be missed. And I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to just throw that out there because as an educator, as somebody who has built programs, who is now trying to figure out a way to at least fill the void. So we're toying with some online programming. We're toying online courses. We're toying with a whole lot of stuff over at the University of Memphis. So it won't have to be resident based. Hopefully I can make wait a minute, for y'all who's following me on social media, hopefully I can be able to make an announcement soon. But for right now, it's Memphis Theological Seminary is going to be missed. So,
And Dr. J, I don't know how appropriate it is, but I know yourself, Dr. Fisher, and Dr. Harrington and I at least know subtly that in part, and let me preface this by saying Dr. Jody Hill, Dr. Crutchfield, Dr. Woodbury Moore, absolutely wonderful. But I think the general public needs to understand that there are some elements of this very toxic racial environment that we've been in that has influenced. I don't have percentages, but we know.
Yeah.
We've been in the meetings, have influenced the fact that this institution is closing. And a lot of the brothers and sisters in Memphis are not even aware of that, man. I've been disinvited by white churches in Memphis to help them in their programs. And the pastor of the white church in Boston says, no, we can't have him here. He's a graduate of a liberal seminary.
Right.
And even his own associate pastor who's white said, you know, you a racist. And this is what I want folks to understand. Everywhere we turn as Black folks, trauma to the left, trauma to the right. I don't care what you're doing, what you're trying to do. There's always these systems every day, other week, twice on Sunday. Don't make no difference what state you go to in America, that are fighting us, fighting our progress tooth and nail. Can't even get an education. Then this administration has changed the policies within the Department of Education to remove certain degrees from even having professional value. So this is what I want folks to understand. And the last thing we need to be doing as Black folks is getting on folks that are trying to pursue their education in any shape, form, or fashion. So we need to stop hating. And I'm tired of hearing preachers talking about this one with letters after that. Listen, Scripture tells you that every man should enjoy and be able to prove his own work. If we want to, we need to support people in all their efforts of edification. Amen. And because we got enough folks that are shipping out our heels every step we make, and the last thing we need to do is keep undermining each other.
Amen.
That's my diatribe for the evening.
Well, I want to answer Brother Harper question that's in the chat. Have they said what will happen with the MTS space? Yes, they are selling it. And I do believe that might have been, I am teaching a social justice cohort, the community witness social justice cohort this week. And I do believe I may have seen some potential buyers looking at the property, yesterday, going around just seeing, what was going on. So Covenant Presbyterian Church is trying to sell it. It is on the market, from what I am told. But that void, if there is some way to, I think Dr. Fisher said it brilliantly. He said that if you're looking, for just edification and stuff, we have enough people here in our churches and our groups that can really do wonderful work and to, like we always like to say, you go a little bit deeper than Bible study or Sunday school. But if you're looking to be credentialed, So that means an accredited seminary, we have to find a willing partner that would be willing to allow us to partner with them. Any other questions to this wonderful group? I can just add, I had an opportunity to teach in the group as well, and it was a wonderful time. And we really got into the meaning of social justice. That's where we began to start reading some case studies, as I remember, and getting our heads wrapped around that. So I am honored that I was a part of this first cohort. A small part, but a part nevertheless. I was so happy to be that. And I was so, and again, this, for the people in the Zoom room who don't know, this forum came up, after a lunch that I was invited to when the Justice League, that's the name, the Justice League was just having a group of members were having lunch, and I'm leaving, and I said, wait a minute, why don't we just try to put this together? Y'all are the inaugural. Let's do that. I immediately, after lunch, came home, whipped up something, said, hey, Dr. Todd, you think the House of Black Church Studies want to sponsor this as a prelude to the Sanctuary in the Streets symposium? Oh, that sounds good. Let's do it. And here we are. So again, thank you for allowing me to be a part. We have come to our time, but I do want everybody to get last remarks, just closing remarks before we end. So who wants to go first? Dr. Blackett, yeah.
I am sitting here feeling with a lot of mixed feelings right now, because even though it was a very challenging program to go through, and there were times that I was challenged more than I ever thought I would be challenged, the fact that there's going to be a void here in terms of a Memphis Theological Seminary makes me very sad, but also very angry, because it seems like whenever we find a way to begin to solve our problems, they cut it off. And we never have any way of stopping, or we don't have the economics, or we don't have the financial well-being to make things better. I can't express enough how much and how important Memphis Theological Seminary is to Memphis. And it seems like as soon as people start realizing what an important role and what an important part that it played, and the dynamics in terms of the people that were involved in it, when you start talking about the people that we were exposed to from all over the country, in terms of speakers and pastors and practitioners, it seemed all of a sudden it was too much for some people. So it's like, let's cut it off. So now we have to start back all over again. Hopefully it'll come back stronger. But those individuals who did not have the experience that we have, I'm hurting for them, because it's something that all of us will carry for the rest of our lives. And to think that there's so many people out there that will not have the privilege of understanding, participating, and being a part of such a huge experience that has had a huge impact and will have a huge impact on our society.
Thank you, Judge. Dr. Fondren?
I just want to say the work continues, and we as the people must move methodically.
Amen. Dr. Smith?
Yes, sir. I want to thank you again for assembling this great opportunity, this great bringing together of minds and people and activists. And so I'll close with this verse from 1 Corinthians 4 and 5. I thank my God always on your behalf for the grace of God given to you by Jesus Christ, that you might be enriched in all things, in all utterance, and in all knowledge. Peace and love.
Thank you. Dr. Mackey.
Regardless of the circumstances that hit you and hit our lives, God will find a way. Our divine creator is divinely preparing each of us to do the work that our souls must have. And I just pray that we all find the grace, the mercy, and the stamina, honestly, to do the work that all of our souls must have. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of this. And Doc Harrington.
Amen. Again, thank you so much, my advisor, my project advisor, Dr. Andre Johnson, and to my cohort, my team, my family now. I would just say that we are enough. And I'm talking about we as African Americans, we as Black folk. I think it was In Vogue said, free your mind, and the rest will follow. Let's make sure that whatever we do, we read, digest, and embrace some Black scholars. You know, let's learn about who Bishop Henry McNeil Turner was. Let's learn and let's understand about Dr. Albert Clegg. Let's get some information around who Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw is and what her work is all about. Make certain that we pull up scholarly information of individuals that look just like us, and then make sure that we serve, we sacrifice, and that we proclaim the goodness and the great work that God has placed not only in our hearts, our hands, and in our heels, but let us hold fast to history as we move forward and look at heaven and God, who's the author and finisher of our faith. And so thank you so much again for being here this evening. Thank
y'all for joining. For first of all, for being in the inaugural. Corey has to start somewhere. And as I look back now, for such a time as it was back then, you were called to do this. And I am just so glad to see y'all on the other side of this. I was at the graduation and I saw, folk walking across the stage. We're very, very proud. So, and thank you, audience, for being a part of this and your questions and your support and your comments. I told you that this was the penultimate event. Event at Memphis Theological Seminary. Now, from what I am told, the last event, sponsored again by the House of Black Church Studies, Dr. Karen Todd being the director. It's in the chat. If you have not registered, please click that link. Register now. From the sanctuary to the streets, training Black churches for faithful witness in the public square. It was to be in person, but we had to shift today because the building would not be conditioned for us to have an in-person, because we were going to do it at Memphis Theological Seminary. So it would be virtual. So get on up with us about 8:30. Get on into this room. I'm going to have some announcements and stuff. And then at 9 o'clock, we're going to have 2 breakout rooms. You can either, I think the first 2 will be Dr. Earl Fisher. We'll be talking about Up the Vote 901 and about politics and the rhetoric behind that. And then we have Dr. Nicole Robinson from Christian Theological Seminary that's going to talk about the work that she does as it relates to mental health. So you have a choice to jump in, or you can move from room to room if you so desire. We're going to get all of that set up for Saturday morning. We have the start at 8 o'clock, but we will open up the Zoom. Well, we will open up the Zoom room a little bit earlier, but we will officially get started about 8:30. So go ahead on. I know if you register, let me look at my phone. Nobody registered yet. So go ahead on and register now. And so you can get on and get in and make sure Now, when you register, you will be sent an email to join. So hold on to that email. I'm going to try to, on the Saturday, on the day of, send out the email again. But once we get started, I'm going to be doing this. I won't be able to check emails and stuff. So go ahead on and register and keep that link. And once you got the link, you good to go. And that link is good for the whole day. We're going to leave the room open the entire day. I'm looking forward to that. We got some great people. If you click that link, you can see who's going to be with us. Yeah, so please click the link, register, and all of that. And if you want to talk with me any further, let me put my email in here. AEJ762. I'm gonna give you my Gmail account. So that's my catch-all account. So if you want to talk about the possibilities of continuing an education or starting an education, maybe even a PhD program or MA, we have a totally fully online MA program at Memphis, at the University of Memphis, and you can actually shape that into a religious communication MA program. Of course, the PhD as well too. So let me know, hit me up. We trying to fill the void as best as we possibly can. For all of you that I've been seeing, so good to see you. Soon to be Dr. Yates and others who've been coming, who's in class at Memphis Theological Seminary. We are going to finish strong. We do thank Perkins Theological Seminary for being the teach out school. Students are going and will finish out their degrees, but there's still going to be a void here in the city of Memphis. And so when we get together and come back and try to fill that void, let us work. Let us continue to do the work. The work is still our calling. And I think we can do just that. So without any further ado, go Mob. Yeah, that's right. Go,
Go Mob.
the Sigmas are in the Zoom room, but just let you know. Just let you know. With that, good night. Have a pleasant and blessed tomorrow and the rest of the week. And I do hope to see you in the Zoom room on Saturday morning. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.